Number 10. Death. Death for all of them. We will litter the path to Krakoa with bodies of all those who stand against us, for there is an apocalypse coming. Those are the words of the first horseman, Death. First appearing in Powers of X number 4, Death is immortal, obviously. He was sealed away on Arakko with his other fellow horsemen, which I will expand on a little later. His mother, Genesis, along with multiple other mutants, made the island of Arakko their home, even putting towers up to protect them from the threat of demons, led by Annihilation. That unfortunately didn't last very long. The demons ended up destroying the towers and attacked all of the mutants. Desperate to save Arakko, Death sent the Summoner to Earth. And who is a Summoner, you ask? Well, Number 9. The Summoner. The son of War himself, born hundreds of years ago on that same island of Arakko, he was part of a group of mutant wizards who referred to themselves as the Summoners. So, what could they do? Well, they could summon various creatures of Arakko. Bam, just like that. So while all those mutants were being attacked, the Summoner was sent away to the Immense Dimension. He was sent to find his grandfather and also carried a portion of Arakko with him. His grandfather, being Apocalypse, was needed in order to save Arakko. Not bad at all. Being the grandson of Apocalypse must be nice. My grandparents were cool, but they were never like Immense Dimension cool. They just liked Werther's originals. His powers are pretty interesting. Like I said, he's able to summon and control every dark beast of Arakko. Demon elementals, you name it. I mean, in one instance, he actually held one of Cable's bombs as it went off, and it didn't even faze the guy. Number 8. Famine. Also an OG member of the Four Horsemen, Famine is the son of Apocalypse, first in his name to serve. Similarly to the Summoner, Famine had also ended up in the Immense Dimension. So after his mother died to the hands of immense dark god, Annihilation, Famine and his other siblings were approached shortly after the Omniversal Majestrix Saturnine, who then asked both sides of the war to participate in the challenge of the 10 swords for victory, and they agreed. Famine is also centuries old, as he is immortal as well. Number 7. Jack Starmore. Making his debut in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula issue 1, Jack Starmore was actually born into a lesser house of the clan Akaba. See, part of the Starmore bloodline, he wasn't treated with too much respect. The person that gave him the hardest time was Hamilton Slade, his cousin, who I'll talk about in 1 minute. He had a pretty unique mutation that made him stand out from the rest. That being, he can breathe fire. Yeah, he's a pyrokinetic who straight up shoots fire out of his mouth. Guy must kill it at parties. Oh, and he can also absorb fire too with his mouth. So if anything lights on fire in your kitchen, maybe you're cooking something and there's a little plume of dust, Jack Starmore can just suck it up. He was a child when he was deemed a servant to the council and realized he was a small fish in a very big and very overpowered sea. He had to make up for this lost strength, so he would always go above and beyond his duties to make sure everybody around him is happy and safe. We love him. Number 6. Evan Sabinor. Sounds pretty familiar to in Sabinor. Well, that's because he's his clone. Yeah, making his first appearance in Uncanny X-Force issue 7, Evan was created from the blood of a fallen young Apocalypse after he was killed by Phantom X. So once Warren Worthington became the Horseman of Death, Archangel, he actually was on his way to replace Apocalypse. Phantom X used that small bit of blood and combined it with the world. The world being a scientific facility that's the size of his palm. And he made a clone of En Sabinor. Not a bad secret at all. Phantom X finally revealed the secret project and used the clone Evan, a good guy at heart, and he sent him after Archangel. It worked because while they were fighting, Psylocke was able to come in and attack him with the Seed of Life. Number 5. William Rolfson. Making his first appearance in Uncanny X-Force number 13, William Rolfson, better known as Genocide, is the son of Apocalypse and Autumn Rolfson. She was afraid that Apocalypse would see their affair-born son and look at him as a threat. So Autumn decided to hide and raise William by herself. Not a bad plan. During this time, William had grown into his mutant powers, and even had a bat suit to go along with it, and he was only like 15. The suit is designed to trap him and contain his powers. He kind of looks like a skeleton in a Hulkbuster armor. It's kind of neat, like a Mars Attacks alien. He can generate radioactive plasma, which is a nice touch in a fight. Yeah, you want to go? Hope you like plasma, bucko. Bam! It's also as hot as the sun's core, so it's real good. In the Dark Angel saga, when William and his mom are hiding, Archangel found them. At this time, he was Apocalypse's replacement, so he recruited William. Eventually, William's mom caught on what was going on and gave them hell. Archangel reacted by killing her. What a Number 4. Margaret Slade. So as a little girl, she straight up watched Apocalypse himself fight a gang of demons, literally cutting them up. She gave birth to Hamilton Slade, and then after that, her second son, Frederick Slade, who we'll get into a little bit. She's very stern and ruthless, as one would assume, being a descendant of Apocalypse and all. Like, imagine being a child and witnessing Apocalypse being summoned to fight demons. Like, you wouldn't necessarily be the most bubbly of all teenagers after that. I feel like you'd be a bit scarred. She favorited one of her sons a lot more simply because of the fact that he was violent and ruthless as well as her. They both had the bloodlines of Apocalypse. One was just a bit more different, if I can say that. A pretty notable power that Margaret possessed is that she's able to transform the molecules of her hands into a metallic material that she shaped into talons or claws. Kind of like that dude from the Terminator with the metal swords. These are jazz hands. These are gold. I think it's gold, right? These are gold. These are jazz hands. One of the two. Go watch Bring It On. Number 3, Frederick Slade. Born as the second child of Margaret Slade, making his first appearance in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula issue 2, he's in the bloodline of Apocalypse, and he's too cool not to include. Born in the 18th century, his family was part of the main branch of Clan Akaba. So basically, he was a second-born and was physically smaller, so he didn't really get too much attention from his mom. Middle child syndrome, kinda. Pretty mean. She was actually using her time and energy to mold Hamilton Slade. The family was pretty wealthy and spent most of their time in the Alexandria house, aka the cool treehouse meeting place for Clan Akaba. So Frederick, growing up more or less under the radar, that is until Ozymandias came along and saw new potential in him. Ozymandias spent his time watching the members of Clan Akaba as they betray each other and even kill each other just to get closer to Apocalypse. But Frederick Slade, he was a different egg. Ozymandias saw courage, fairness, and compassion inside of Frederick, so he trained him to become the leader of Akaba, and to be donned the title of the Fittest. What a great nickname that would be. Like, oh, Frederick. Oh, you mean Frederick the Fittest? Yeah, I know him. He's my boss. So now he's a descendant of Apocalypse, so he of course has a few tricks up his sleeve. Self-molecular manipulation for starters, which most upper-level members of Clan Akaba possess. Also teleportation. But this one is unique to him. Not only can he teleport himself, but he can also teleport objects or people. It makes a cool blink sound when he teleports too. Gotta love the small details. Number 2, Hamilton Slade. Okay, remember that older brother, Frederick, that I mentioned? Yeah, that's Hamilton Slade. He made his first appearance in X-Men Apocalypse vs. Dracula, issue 1. He's a vampire mutant, so no wonder he got all the attention while Frederick sat on the sidelines. He's also got this cool, like, big clan tattoo right on his chest. Dude's not playing around. We meet him in the Victorian era, born into that same wealthy family. He was born inheriting a strong dose of Apocalypse's blood, so naturally, he was destined to become the leader. It's in his blood, literally. He looked at himself as he would Apocalypse. This guy's a born leader. The members of the clan had to take orders from him if they wanted to or not. He ended up dying at the hands of Dracula, which not a bad way to go out, or not go out. Yeah, he became part of the undead after that and returned as a vampire. As if this guy couldn't get any cooler. So Dracula and his new crew, now including Hamilton Slade, attacked Clan Akaba, killing his own mother in the meantime. And then little bro Frederick Slade came in and killed him. Yeah, he teleported his head away from the rest of his body. Nice touch, super gross. And lastly, number 1, Blink. The great-granddaughter of Margaret Slade, also known as Clarice Ferguson, hello Clarice, was a main player in the Age of Apocalypse storyline. Making her first debut in Uncanny X-Men issue 317, she was one of the many mutants that were captured by the Phalanx. She's known to be rather tense and panicky because of her given powers. Anybody caught in the Blink wave, which is her teleportation field, would just get shredded. Now I don't mean like get jacked, like they would get shredded apart, their body just poof, gone. She isn't the best at controlling her powers too. And those powers being able to create teleportation warp portals, so she can displace anything and anybody as well. But she also used these portals to throw a weapon back at an enemy. Kind of like in Infinity War during the first New York battle, when Strange and Wong used their portals to throw Ebony Maw's brick darts back at him. It's pretty cool stuff. She joined the mutant nation of Krakoa and battled Nightcrawler, which is a pretty sweet issue.
Number 10, Gloria Brickman. Gloria was Mystique's adopted daughter while she was in the guise of Mallory Brickman. In fact, this secret identity for Mystique created a bit of a mystery, as we don't know if there ever was a real Mallory Brickman, or if Mystique had been impersonating her since she met Senator Ralph Brickman. It's possible that Mallory was simply a persona that Mystique created, and that never really existed without her, especially as their young, likely preteen daughter was revealed to be adopted. Gloria remained suspicious of her mother. She talked to a federal agent about her concerns when it came to her mom always acting strangely. Mystique herself appeared to be just using her family to help her get back at Sabretooth, who had kidnapped the love of her life Fred's grandson, Destiny's grandson, Trevor Chase.
Number 9, Trevor Chase. Speaking of Trevor, let's talk about the little guy. This one might be a stretch, but just go with me on this one. We all know that Mystique and Destiny are like a thing. They're lovers, they're a couple, they're life partners. You get the point. As life partners, they share an extended family, so Destiny's descendants are also Mystique's in a way. So Destiny's grandson, Trevor Chase, is also Mystique's, sort of. Trevor is the son of Justine and Cole Chase, Justine being Destiny's daughter. Justine and Cole were friends with Mystique, and she looked after them after Destiny's death. They're all pretty much a family, so I'm saying that Trevor is basically a child of Mystique adjacent.
Number 8, Anna Raven. This is the daughter of an alternate Mystique in Destiny on Earth 797. His codename instead of Mystique was either Mystic or Mystique, which Mystique in French, which is weird because Mystique, you know, it is French. Anyways, in Exiles, we see him visiting the graves of his life partner Destiny and their daughter Anna Raven, likely an alternate version of Rogue, possibly a version who was the naturally born daughter of her parents Mystique and Destiny, which would be pretty cool.
Number 7, Linda Darkholm. Linda Darkholm was married to Kurt Darkholm, aka Nightcrawler, making her Mystique's daughter-in-law. We don't know for sure if she was a mutant or not, since she wasn't featured long enough to see any character development. Linda's character was only featured briefly in Uncanny X-Force issue 25, and she was killed off by the Blob. In the issue, Nightcrawler comes home to find the Blob had attacked and killed Linda, and that was kind of the last we heard of her. She was a pretty insignificant character as far as development goes, but she's still a daughter of Mystique by marriage.
Number 6, Charles Xavier II. There are 2 alternate versions of Charles Xavier II, the son of Mystique and Charles Xavier. However, one was likely erased from existence due to, well, a separate issue, so we're going to focus on the adult Charles II from the alternate Earth of 13729. This version of Charles was believed to have been conceived while Mystique was in the guise of Moira McTaggart. Mystique abandoned baby Charles when he was born. It's unknown how powerful he is exactly compared to his dad, but his powers mirror that of Professor X. He is a capable and disciplined telepath capable of controlling or shielding multiple minds at once. When his powers first manifested, Charles accidentally killed his adopted mother, causing him to seek out his natural birth mother. Instead, he found his maternal half-brother who had already killed their mother and was impersonating her.
Number 5, Magneto. I'm pretty sure everyone knows who Magneto is. He's the super powerful mutant with the ability to create and control magnetic fields. Magneto was married to an alternate version of Rogue during Age of Apocalypse. Rogue, being the adopted daughter of Mystique, makes Magneto Mystique's son-in-law. A lot of marriage. Magneto and Rogue became lovers after it was discovered that Magneto's magnetic powers made him resistant to Rogue's absorption abilities. I don't know how romantic that sounds to me, but I guess it was nice for them. Together the pair had a child named Charles, named after Charles Xavier, making him the grandson of Mystique by law.
Number 4, Ra's Darkholm. Ra's is the child of Mystique and Wolverine from an alternate universe. He hails from Earth 13729 and was created by Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Immonen. Although he might be the son of Mystique and Logan, he doesn't have a great relationship with either, having tried to kill both of them, and actually succeeding, I think, at least in one of those cases. He joined his half-brother Charles Xavier II on the Future Brotherhood team and passionately believes and fights for mutant rights to an extreme. Ra's believes all humans need to be eliminated in order for mutants to finally live in peace.
Number 3, Nightcrawler. So while she was still in her Raven persona, Mystique marries Baron Christian Wagner, who was a member of the German nobility. Basically, this guy underperformed as a lover, and Mystique headed out behind his back, using her shape-shifting abilities to hook up with other men trying to conceive an heir. Eventually, she meets Azazel, who's this immortal father of the Neophan, super bad spooky guy. Mystique gets pregnant with Azazel's child, and she gives birth to the baby, being Nightcrawler. He was born with blue skin, yellow eyes, and a pointed tail, and if that doesn't scream mutant, I don't know what does. After he was abandoned, he was found by Azazel's lover and raised in the circus. His powers manifested around puberty, and he became the cool blue teleporting dude we know today. Also, fun fact, Mystique and Destiny were supposed to be his bio parents, but the Comics Code Authority prohibited the portrayal of gay or bisexual characters at the time. But it would have been really cool to see them, like,
Number 2, Rogue. Rogue is obviously one of the most well-known of Mystique's children and one of the most popular. Rogue first appeared in the comics in 1981 in Avengers Annual Issue Number 1. We would later learn that Rogue ran away from the hippie commune where she grew up after her mother's death. She would live life on her own for a time, her mutant powers manifesting before she met Mystique. Destiny had sent Mystique to find Rogue and recruit her to their cause, convincing her to join the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. To both Destiny and Mystique, however, Rogue was always like their daughter. Mystique treated her as such, and despite all the wrongdoings she has committed in her past, has always done what she can to protect Rogue. In a way, Rogue probably received Mystique's best attempt at being a good mother, which, you know, doesn't really mean a lot coming from Mystique, because she's a pretty terrible mother, but it's clear to see that Raven truly cares for her daughter, even when Rogue is focused on hating her mom's guts and wants nothing to do with her.
At number 1, Graden Creed. Graden Creed is the epitome of mommy/daddy issues. He was conceived through the utter seduction and bamboozlement as his mother Mystique seduced freelance assassin Victor Creed, also known as Sabretooth, while they were stationed in Germany. During this time, Mystique, while in her Raven persona, had taken on the identity of deceased German secret agent Lenny Zauber. The two became lovers and had Graden together, though Mystique faked her own death in order to leave Victor and ended up giving Graden up for adoption. Now, even though Graden was born to 2 mutants, he was not a mutant himself, and this sort of fueled the rage inside of him. So in Graden's later years, he carried this hatred for his parents with him, and it grew to encapsulate all mutants. He even went so far as to organize a group called Friends of Humanity, and though this sounds like a cute and catchy name, their purpose was very much the opposite. The group was opposed to the civil rights of mutants and committed terrorist attacks against them. Graden was also a hopeful presidential candidate at one point, but never fully ascended to the coveted position, as he was assassinated by a future version of his mother Mystique as an act of revenge for the Friends of Humanity's part in the attack on Trevor Chase, the descendant of Mystique's lover Destiny.
Number 10, Harry Osborn. Jealousy can go a long way. I mean, if your best friend got superpowers, would you not be the most jealous person on the planet? I mean, not only would I beg them for their powers, but I would probably end up resenting them. Like if my best friend was Spider-Man, yeah, I'm gonna be pretty upset every time I have to take a bus. Making his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man 31, Harry Osborn is Peter Parker's best friend. Played by James Franco in the Sam Raimi trilogy and Dane DeHaan in the Garfield Almost trilogy, this comic book character is one of my favorites to watch. So while Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, who is Norman Osborn, Willem Dafoe, his dad, they'd go head to head and fight, Peter Parker is also best friends with Harry Osborn, his son. So we got a little triangle of emotions there. So eventually Harry found out about his best friend's alter ego and became a madman, especially after Spider-Man killed his dad. Hello? Let's go. He also knows Peter Parker takes pics of Spider-Man, so he asks him to help with a plan. That plan didn't go well once he found out his worst enemy is also his best friend. So, donning his father's suit and becoming the next Green Goblin. Looking back at James Franco's performance as Harry Osborn, like sure there were cringe moments, but overall this guy did a pretty good job with the character development over 3 films. This guy lasted 3 films. He even had some unreal like buddy cop moments with Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3. Plus we got 3 movies with that James Franco stank guy, you know? Oh, he's so good. Then of course Dane DeHaan played him in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and his plan to hurt Peter's love interest worked a bit better, I'd say. Which Green Goblin did you prefer? I mean, let us know in the comments. Also, side question, who's your dream cast for Harry Osborn in the MCU right now? I feel like Timothée Chalamet is gonna get casted. He's a young age, he looks good, he looks cute, but he's kind of villainous. I feel like it's the perfect time for him to get thrown into the MCU. Number 9, Quicksilver. If you've seen the movie Kick-Ass recently, you may have noticed that 2 of the main characters, Dave and Todd, both ended up playing Quicksilver on screen. So Aaron Taylor Johnston played him in the MCU and Evan Peters played him in the X-Men universe. Quicksilver, aka Petro Maximoff, is a speedster who made his first debut all the way back in 1964 in X-Men issue number 4. He's the twin of Wanda Maximoff and the son of Magneto. In X-Men Apocalypse, he casually reveals this information to Mystique, where she promptly responds with,
What?
What? Yeah, that's a pretty good response. He goes on to explain how he met him 10 years prior, but he didn't know at the time. And now of course Marvel didn't have the rights to all of these Fox characters, so his story is a little different. Aaron Taylor Johnston's version of the Quicksilver character got his powers from the Scepter, aka the Mind Stone. Same with Wanda, they're the Miracles, not mutants. Different M. See, I thought that Evan Peters' version was honestly wasted. I mean, the fact that he explains how badly he feels for being the fastest person ever, yet he's always late to these big, crucial life moments. These character arcs were really going somewhere, and by the time we got to Dark Phoenix, it just didn't matter. I think they wasted a lot of potential. Even Quicksilver's scenes were the staples in those movies. Like as soon as you saw that Bumblebee start to slow down in X-Men Apocalypse, you already knew what was about to happen. And it was epic. It's probably the only scene that I will see. I see it on YouTube every now and then and I'm like, you know what? I gotta watch this. It's too good. I'm hoping to see him come back in Disney Plus's WandaVision. Fingers crossed, guys. Let's do it. Number 8. Talia Al Ghul. As you would have guessed just by her name, Talia Al Ghul is the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. She made her first appearance in Detective Comics issue 411 and also played a main role in Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy in Dark Knight Rises, played by Marion Cotillard. This chick's pretty bad. I mean, Talia is the daughter of Melisandre and Ra's al Ghul, and after witnessing her mother being murdered by Quicken, she began to follow her villainous father's footsteps, learning more and more about the family business. Now, eventually becoming Ra's al Ghul's primary heir. At the end of Dark Knight Rises, we see a nice Nolan little character twist, where Miranda reveals her true identity. Now, in the comics, it's quite fun as well. See, Batman rescues her from Dr. Dark, and her first issue, actually, and Dr. Dark had actually once been a member of her father's League of Assassins. Interesting. Ra's al Ghul informed Batman that her and Robin had been kidnapped, so Batman goes in, of course, to save the day. Then he finds out it's all this big setup by Ra's al Ghul to see if he was good enough to take his daughter's hand in marriage. I feel like Tinder works a bit easier, you know? I mean, just type in your preferences. It's not, you know, must have a cape, must be afraid of bats, no parents, no problem, super swipe. She's also the mother of Damian Wayne, but I'll save that story for another time. Number 7. Carnage. That's right, making its first appearance in the Amazing Spider-Man issue number 359, Carnage is a symbiote that is the offspring of Venom. Yeah, talk about a crazy kid. You think kids running around the mall crying is bad? Imagine the son of Venom. Wild stuff. So his host is none other than Cletus Cassidy. Cletus was sharing the same prison cell as Eddie Brock in the Amazing Spider-Man issue 344. So Cletus is hanging out, just carving a shank, kicking back, you know, doing his thing. And at the same time, he was planning on stabbing Eddie Brock. Being a murderer and all, that's what they, you know, do. So the Venom symbiote then comes in to save the day. So after Brock is reunited with that goopy fun, a small little piece of it attaches itself to Cletus, thus becoming Carnage. See, Carnage is a scary offspring of Venom, and probably the scariest of the Clintar. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this angry boy in Venom. Let there be carnage. I wasn't a fan of Venom that much, but this crazy redhead is too fun to ignore. He's probably gonna kill it in the next one. Who's gonna make it, you know, Spider-Man 1? Cool. Spider-Man 2, oh my god, way better. And also, we better get an R rating or I'm gonna kick somebody in the shins. The crazy offspring of Venom is being portrayed by Woody Harrelson, thank god, because he's amazing. And if you haven't seen the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, he's the human antagonist of the third one, and it's so good. He does a bang up job. I've always felt like Michael C. Hall would do a good job too, ever since Dexter. I'm telling you. Number 7. Rose Wilson. Rose Wilson is the daughter of Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, making her first appearance in Deathstroke the Terminator issue 15. So after Deathstroke met Sweet Lily after his divorce with Adeline Kane, they ended up having a baby together. How lovely. Nothing more romantic than trekking to Thailand on a search and rescue mission, you know? Applebee's? Nah, it's not good enough. Not romantic enough, Applebee's. Get out of here. So Slade's half-brother, Wade, yeah, Wade Wilson, it's a whole thing, I know. So Slade, using his persona, Ravager, tried killing all of Slade's friends and family. Not cool, dude. So after Sweet Lily drove off a cliff and died, Rose reached out to her father, Slade, but he wasn't on board. He felt like he was responsible for the death of 2 of his sons, so naturally he's like, nah, get away from me, you don't want any part of this. So she ended up joining the Titans. After being injured from a training exercise, she had her first experience with her precognitive powers, seeing a vision of Deathstroke's future. This next part is insane. So Deathstroke hired Ravager, the same guy who attacked his family, to go and kill Rose for $100,000. That's not even that much either. Like, I mean, higher. Negotiate. Then he alerted the Titans anonymously, and after barely escaping, Rose woke up in Deathstroke's lair, where he apologized to Rose for abandoning her at a young age. I mean, you know, going out for ice cream would have sufficed, but hiring assassins to kill you works just as well. Whatever you prefer. Tomatoes, tomatoes, to each their own. Have at her. Number 6. Loki. Arguably one of the best characters of the MCU, Loki is the adoptive son of Odin. But who are his real parents? Loki Laufeyson, yes, that's his real name, has a little tongue twister in it, is the son of the frost giant, Laufey. He was left as a baby, abandoned in his home world, Jotunheim. During a battle, Odin had found his lost child and took him in as his own. We see this in the first Thor movie back in 2011. When Loki finds out that his motives are peddled by being the offspring of an evil frost giant, he gets a little upset. He always felt different growing up, and often looked down on Thor as he got the most attention growing up, being Odin's true son. Odin had chosen not to tell Loki of his true heritage and raise him as one of his own, being a nice guy and all. But with evil powers comes evil responsibility, and Loki ended up becoming the villain a year later in the 2012 Avengers film. See, I favored Loki's storyline more than half of the main Avengers. I mean, the adoptive thing wasn't taken lightly at all, and Tom Hiddleston did an amazing job showing these moments of weakness and anger to Odin. He met his demise in Infinity War, we think, but you know, we have this whole Disney Plus show titled Loki coming out soon, so I feel like the God of Mischief isn't quite done with us yet, thankfully. Number 5. Alexi Kravinoff. Son of Kraven the Hunter, Alexi is just as capable of killing the Webhead. Making his first appearance in the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 243, Alexi is a son of Kraven the Hunter and a mutant woman. So Alexi has his father's powers, but he also has powers that allowed him to talk to animals, passed down from his mutant mother. I've always wanted that power too. I mean, the amount of times I've had to take on raccoons with like a hockey stick, like, can you guys just leave, please? It'd be so much easier if I could just... and then they leave. That's it, no problems. He's also known as the second Kraven the Hunter, I mean, obviously. And there's even talks of Jason Momoa playing Kraven the Hunter in the next live-action Spider-Man movie for the MCU. And with Jamie Foxx just being announced to reprise his role as Electro, we could potentially see Kraven join in to complete the Sinister Six lineup, which is something we almost got in the Amazing Spider-Man Almost trilogy. So it may finally be happening, people. Hold on to your butts. And if he's defeated, we always know that his son will just come in and be Kraven the Hunter 2.0. Good to know. Number 4. Thane. Remember that guy from Infinity War? His name was Thanos. It's kind of a big deal. Had a gauntlet, loved snapping his fingers. Maybe he watched a lot of West Side Story. I don't know. Yeah, he has a son named Thane. He's the outcome when you mix Thanos with an Inhuman. He made his first appearance in the New Avengers Volume 3, Issue 10. Also referred to as Living Death, Thane is quite the descendant. His powers are so strong that he needed Ebony Maw, aka Squidward, to make him a containment suit. Without the suit, his powers were very unstable. I mean, this guy goes to work. He once trapped Thanos and Proxima Midnight in an amber construct by using just his right hand. My right hand is really weak, especially today. I have morning hands still, you know, where you just can't open anything. It's just a weak day. Yeah, morning hands. You're welcome for that. So after seeing that, Ebony Maw's like, hey man, let's just chill. I can discipline you. You'll be a good guy. Don't listen to your dad. He's kind of a dick. Number 3. Cynthia Schmidt. First appearing in Captain America issue 290, she's the daughter of Red Skull. That's right, the villain in Captain America, the first Avenger. So Red Skull realized he needs a male heir and went out, found himself a washerwoman, and went about it. After the mother had died during childbirth, Red Skull, better known as Johann Schmidt, almost killed the child because it had been a girl and not a boy. What a monster! So Susan Scarbo was like, hey, that's just a bit wild. Maybe let's not do that. I'll raise her. What do you say? And he agreed. So the Red Skull passed on his wisdom through Susan. He came back as she was a child and put her in a machine that sped up her aging process, making her an adult and giving her her superpowers, thus becoming Mother Superior, the leader of the Sisters of Sin. My favorite part of all this, one time Captain America was put in this machine and became super old. And then when he used the machine to revert back to regular age, he took the sisters with him so that they also de-aged. And I honestly think we're gonna see some sort of version of this in the MCU now with Scott Lang's van. I mean, sure, they failed at making a time machine, but they also accidentally created this aging machine or de-aging machine. So like, can we throw Cap back in there and just get him to sign some more movie contracts? Because I feel like we're not done with Chris Evans yet. And number 2, Starlord. Of course, I have to include him in this list as he found out who his real father was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yep, I said spoilers earlier, you were warned. After the events of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 unfolded, Peter Quill, aka Starlord, was able to hold an Infinity Stone with his bare hands. And this didn't go unnoticed. Even groups of beings in the past have been trying to be able to maintain that power, and they failed. Even connecting themselves to share it, it didn't work. It's a power stone, it's way too powerful. His real father turned out to be not David Hasselhoff, but Ego, the living planet. Peter Quill's powers were explained to him by his father, played by Kurt Russell, and soon after we got to see them playing catch, and it was insanely awkward and funny. Ego turned out to be not a nice guy. Killing Ego meant saying goodbye to his father's powers that were handed down to him, these celestial powers. But that wasn't a problem for Starlord. I mean, it sure would have helped beat Thanos, but I'm sure he would have just messed that plan up too. Moody man. And finally, number 1, Vision. Yep, hear me out, okay? So in Avengers Age of Ultron, we find the twins, one of which I was talking about earlier, Pietro, aka Quicksilver, and the other, Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch. Their powers are given to them not by Magneto in this world, but one of the Infinity Stones, the Mind Stone. After Ultron is accidentally created, he has one idea, to have a kid, make a new body, you know, pass it on. So after being created by Stark, Ultron was born with the same goals almost. So he figured if he took some vibranium and mixed it with that same stone that gave him life, he could make an unbelievable new body, a stronger body. And he nearly succeeds. That is until Tony Stark and the gang comes in, gets the Scepter, and thinks, you know what, why not finish the mission? So they plug the dude in and they finish the download. Now we have Vision. And the rest of the Avengers aren't too fond of this idea, as it's a stronger version of Ultron, and that dude's in the air right now trying to blast the he's not nice. If at first you don't succeed, just try it again, So, Vision pops out, starts questioning his existence the same way his original creator, Ultron, did. The team carefully walks around him, and it isn't until Vision lifts Thor's hammer until they trust him. So Vision floats up to Ultron in the final battle, and Ultron says to him, "My Vision." That's his baby, and now he has a cape and he sounds like Paul Bettany. What's going on?
Number 10, Thor. I know what you're thinking, but Thor isn't a villain, Amanda. Well, on the alternate Earth of 3515, he kind of is, actually. In this reality, Thor became the conqueror of Earth, where humans were looked down upon as being inferior to their Asgardian leaders. Thor had a son named Magni, who was actually a pretty decent sort. Magni fell in love with a human woman, and upon discovering this, his uncle Loki, also demonstrating what a terrible parent he himself could be, had Magni's love interest arrested, not believing the woman worthy of the young prince's love due to her being human. Magni had been suspicious of both his uncle and his mother's obsession with power, and this was the final straw for him. He saved his love, but the experience had already left its mark on her. Magni went to his father, berating him for allowing his mother and uncle to behave and carry on this way. Initially, Thor resisted seeing reason, but eventually realized the error of his ways. Rather than fix it, however, he made changes so that the events of this alternate reality had never come to pass, meaning Magni was erased from existence. Harsh. Number 9, Baron Zemo. Of all the fathers, Baron Heinrich Zemo is probably one of the best on this list, though that obviously doesn't mean that much. Heinrich was a German World War II scientist working on the side of the Axis. Like many of the other German soldiers and minds that fought for Germany in World War II, he believed in the idea that he was part of a master race, and to a greater extreme, that it was the Zemo legacy who deserved to rule the world. He passed on these beliefs to his son, Helmut, who would one day grow up to become a villain just like his father, also known as Baron Zemo, perhaps even worse than his father. Originally, Heinrich was not a bad father despite being a villain. However, after his accident with Adhesive X, where his cowl became affixed to his head permanently, which Heinrich blamed Captain America for, he became a truly spiteful man, not just hating the Captain and the Americas, but all of humanity. At one point, Heinrich Zemo had abandoned his wife, and Captain America and Bucky actually had to help her track him down. Number 8, Deathstroke. Deathstroke's problem is that he hardcore wants to pass down his legacy, and that sometimes his kids go crazy and are put through hell because of it. Rose and Jericho, Slade Wilson's kids, have both had their lives threatened countless times because they were Deathstroke's kids. At one point, Deathstroke threatened to disown his daughter, so Rose plucked out her eye just to prove herself to him. Talk about wanting to be like your dad when you grow up. Yikes. My dad doesn't have an eye, so I won't have an eye. That will show him I'm serious. So crazy. Deathstroke also accidentally forced both Jericho and Rose to swear fealty to Ra's al Ghul and the League of Assassins when he made a deal with Rage to save Rose's life, but was tricked. Number 7, Mystique. Mystique has proven time and time again how awful of a mother she is. She is constantly conceiving and then abandoning children, because even she acknowledges she's not really fit to parent. When Nightcrawler was born, she checked him down a waterfall in order to help ensure her own safety. When she discovered she was pregnant with Graden, she didn't tell Sabretooth, his dad, and faked her own death, only to later give him up for adoption. With Rogue, she actually tried to be a good mother, but also ended up being ostracized by her daughter because she was such a horrible person, and later on would end up trying to seduce Rogue's boyfriend, Gambit, to prove he wasn't worthy of Rogue's love. Wow. Even when she's trying to be a good parent, she's pretty terrible at it. Number 6, David Kane. David Kane is the father of Cassandra Kane, aka Orphan, one of Batman's allies. She was born to two pretty awful parents, as far as parenting goes, Lady Shiva and David. David only wanted the child to create the perfect bodyguard and weapon for his master, Ra's al Ghul, the leader of the League of Assassins. He forced Lady Shiva to agree to become the mother to his child, hoping together they would create the perfect being for the task. Lady Shiva was offered a choice once caught by the League, either die or agree to become the mother of his child. She agreed, but left after her daughter was born. From there, David would train his daughter mercilessly, forbidding her to use verbal language or to write, but instead having her favor body language as a means of communication above all else. He trained her to become a ruthless and deadly killer and exposed young Cassandra to tons of violence and death to desensitize her from a young age. Eventually, Cassandra managed to escape her father, running away and making making her way to Gotham, after living alone and homeless from age 8 into her teen years. Number 5. Cluemaster. Cluemaster is the villainous father of Stephanie Brown, who would go on in current continuity to become the hero and Batman ally and sidekick known as Spoiler. In fact, Stephanie got her name from her dad. She grew up not knowing of his true life as a criminal, but one day discovered that her father was not a good man. Feeling responsible, she took it upon herself to become a hero to oppose him, becoming Spoiler. Because, you know, she's gonna spoil all his evil plans. Now, you could argue that at least her father sent her down a righteous path by being a villain himself. However, he also tried to kill his daughter multiple times. So, there is that. Number 4. Azazel. If you thought Mystique was bad, wait till you hear about Nightcrawler's other parent, his demonic Nephem father, Azazel. 1. Azazel never really even loved Mystique, but merely found her more intriguing than his other consorts. Despite the fact that she ditched their son almost immediately, tossing baby Nightcrawler down a waterfall, Azazel was never even there when Nightcrawler was born, believing Mystique would be fine on her own. That was a bad choice there, Azazel. Of course, Azazel at least has the excuse of being partially trapped in the Brimstone dimension, but this is also the whole reason that he has kids. He seeks out human women because he is looking to have children, which he can use as a means of escape, as they create a bridge between the hellish dimension in which he's trapped and the Earth. He has even tried to sacrifice his children before to escape this prison. Number 3. Mr. Sinister. Not only is Mr. Sinister a pretty awful parent to all the clones he's created and creatures that he's created in his labs, but before Mr. Sinister was Mr. Sinister, he was Nathaniel Essex, a Victorian gentleman and scholar, obsessed with Darwinism. He posited that there was a superior subspecies among them who was mutating and evolving at a faster rate than your average human, and that within 100 years we would see radical and superior changes made to this subspecies via evolution. What he was really talking about was mutants, though he didn't quite know that yet. Essex did not believe in being held back by morals when it came to scientific development, and his wild theories and beliefs led to him being ostracized from the scientific community and London society. All of his radical beliefs had only been made more radical after he and his wife had lost their son, which they both took very hard in their own way. Their son Adam had died as the result of being born with many birth defects. The name that he took later, Sinister, was actually inspired by his wife, who ended up dying of shock after discovering that her husband had captured vagabonds and homeless people and was experimenting on them, while also keeping their son's corpse in an incubation tube, possibly experimenting on his body as well. Granted, Sinister may have been doing this in an attempt to bring Adam back to life, but a lack of morals does not a good parent make. Number 2. Norman Osborn. Poor Harry, and even more poor Gabriel and Sarah. Norman Osborn has never really known how to be a great father. He was never really present for his son Harry when he needed to be, and was exceedingly controlling when he was there. And Norman became an even worse parent when he became the supervillain known as Green Goblin. Hobgoblin attempted to use the information that Harry's father was Green Goblin to try and blackmail him. Harry's life was also put in danger on multiple occasions because of his dad's supervillain lifestyle. Following the supposed death of his father while in his Green Goblin guise after he had murdered Harry's friend and Peter's girlfriend, Gwen Stacy, Harry became obsessive. He blamed Spider-Man for his father's death, and after learning the truth of Peter Parker's secret identity was driven mad and adopted his father's Green Goblin mantle. So his dad kind of in this way turned him into a superhero. Harry tried to tell other people what he knew in regards to Spider-Man's identity, but was institutionalized with people believing that Harry had gone insane. Gabriel and Sarah were Norman's children by Gwen Stacy. Don't even ask. Despite the fact that he had killed their mother and was their father, he raised the two children to believe that Spider-Man was their father and that he had killed their mother, turning the two of them into villains to be used against Spider-Man. Definitely not winning any parenting awards, Norman. Number 1. Trigon. Much like Azazel, but on a much more frightening level, Trigon is the demonic father of Teen Titan member Raven. He is the reason that Raven has her dark magical powers, and he is the reason why she can be such a dangerous hero at times, when she loses control of her emotions. Trigon, like Azazel, also planned to use Raven as a way of getting to Earth. Raven's whole mission in life is to defeat her father, preventing him from completing his evil plans, and to in essence rid herself of the demonic darkness that resides within her, which comes from her dad. Trigon is constantly trying to trap and eliminate her colleagues and friends on the Teen Titans, and continues to work toward enslaving and corrupting his own daughter Raven. A whole level of grounding no child should ever have to experience.